I told you that I had done evil and you did not care.
I must admit my confusion.
He's fucked in the head. The world's fucked in the head. And you're fucked in the head because my fucked up head is inside.
You heard it up top. Another 10 means another hangout. Things are about to get chillaxed as we break down, like we said, what we are getting down with, what we're watching, what we're enjoying, what we're playing, and of course, what we're celebrating, because it's a happy Whatcha-Giving, y'all. That's right. It's our Thanksgiving episode 2 here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin Berry Sauce.
Oh, geez, we're setting a present. I'll be Mike's Potatoes.
And this is Turkey Jacob, gobble gobble. Happy Whatcha-Giving.
Gabagool.
Happy Whatcha-Giving to us all.
A happy Whatcha-Giving. It's giving thanks, after all.
It's giving thanks.
Yeah, so this is we did the Whatcha around Halloween, spooky season. I mean, it's spooky themed, but every 10 we say we do this, and we are. But this is again, it's a holiday week. Hope y'all are listening to this well, and we're just gonna kick back.
Mike, that was Spooktober, baby, where we break down what we were getting spooky with. Right now, we're stuffed, and we're literally stuffed with content. There's a billion things dropping right now because they know we're home. We're in our PJs. We're watching football. We're eating food, and we're streaming. We're gaming. We're playing. We're reading. We're doing it all. Whatcha.
That's right. It's getting dark earlier. More time to just enjoy media. That's whenever it gets to be this time of year, I tend to spend more time watching movies or, video games. I don't know if that's how it is for you guys, but whenever the sun goes down that early, it's like, yep, time to kick back,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things we're going to cover. There's some stuff we did miss during spooky season now that we're no longer being spooked. No, nothing spooky here, at least on my side. I can't speak for everybody else, but a couple big streaming shows that we haven't gotten to talk about the finales. I'll just bury the lead. We have Rings of Power and Hot D we're going to touch on, and maybe a little cyber corner based on what's on the dock. And just some other general this and that's, odds and ends, some streaming stuff, a little She-Hulk perhaps. And, I bet she could get down on some turkey. So let's just, I say, dive right into this, Thanksgiving dinner size episode.
Wow, gobble, gobble.
Turducken, as it were.
Gobble, gobble.
We're back. We hope you are relaxing as well, enjoying some time off, or if you're some of our international listeners, maybe it's just another work week for you. We hope you're listening along too, but maybe enjoying some content. And like we said, we're going to be talking about what we're whatcha-ing, but we kind of got to wrap up some stuff, right? We've done some past episodes that have covered some things that we did before those things were maybe done.
Mm-hmm.
What did we think? What did we like?
Yeah, we did like a first impressions on these, and some people, they're going shopping this holiday season. They get the Christmas shopping done out of the way, at which point you have to wrap those things up. So we finished these earlier and we are now wrapping them up. We did a first impressions. Now we'll be like,
beautiful.
All right, how did they turn out? But Jacob, let's set up the yin and yang of this, the Hot D versus the Rings of Power.
My precious.
The big fantasy
battle of the billionaires.
Battle. Yeah. Well, we talked about Hot D like right after the first episode, right? Basically. So we haven't talked about it since, the season wrapped up. And same with Rings of Power, which I still have not even finished. So it might be interesting to talk about that one. But I went on Amazon today and I was like, should I try to catch up on this show? I had only seen 3 episodes of the series so far. So I stopped after the 3rd episode, and I still need to get back into it.
Got it. Wow. I think that's an 8-episode series. Hot D was 10. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
It's been
so I really fell off on that, but from what I heard, I'm not missing that much, but
yeah, let's ask this then. So all right, we all finished Hot D, right? Correct,
yes.
Colin? But then Rings of Power, how far did you get through Rings of Power?
Same as Jacob. We did the 3 for the episode, hit the bail button.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I think I wasn't too charitable on it in the initial thoughts episode, so it shouldn't be a surprise, but we would hate watch it every week. We would get in Discord and we would watch it together and we would hate it forever. But we'll get into the details. I don't have to do super spoilers, but general tonal things about,
Yeah.
and that because you guys still have to watch it. And there's a lot of time.
There's a good chance I may never, Mike. We know more is coming. That it doesn't seem like they've hit the bail button yet. They want to continue making this.
They can't really because of how much they've already invested in it.
Right. Sunken cost
A
fallacy.
huge loss to yeah. But and who knows what the actual viewership numbers are, because I don't think they released those publicly, but
we
probably
know,
not a huge hit. Yeah.
We know the Twitter trends for Hot D were in the millions, whereas the Rings of Power were in the thousands. So Mike, as somebody who did those 8, I mean, are you even happy that you did it? Like give me those thoughts, baby.
Look, so this is a time of year to be thankful, right? So I'm thankful that there's at least no more episodes of this for another year or so. I'm very thankful that it's done with, at least for now.
Yeah.
I do not think I'll be returning to Amazon's Middle Earth, and it's not because of what idiots say about it's too woke. Like, I'm fine with all the casting decisions and characterization. That's whatever. It's just fucking slow and boring. It's just very boring. In 8 episodes, less plot development happens than happens in just Fellowship of the Ring. It's the typical thing where we have to stretch the plot to get 8 episodes out of a thing, right? So it's very padded. It's very slow in plotting. And that's pretty much why I don't like it. It's the opposite of efficiency, which is what like the original movies were. Like, they're so efficient, and like even the extended editions, they do a lot more in 4 hours than this did in 8 and some change. So that's how I feel.
Well, who knew that hiring 2 guys that hadn't really had any credits prior to this to run this show didn't work out that well, I guess.
2 guys running a fantasy show who didn't have a lot of big credits beforehand. Yeah,
Or
there's
any
no
credits.
precedent for that, Jake.
I guess it can work until the last season, but
That's true when you got a Star Wars. Maybe they got a Star Wars project coming up
Well,
after this.
let me see this, Mike. My brother and father finished it. They were like us to start. This thing's rocky. We don't know. I'm not even going to say singing the praises. They at least seem satisfied with how things end. I will say my father, through the last couple episodes, straight up just fast forwarding through the Harfoot stuff. Just no patience.
I was ready to do that 3 episodes in already.
Yeah. If we look at our key plots, we have Durin and Elrond, we have the Harfoots, and then Galadriel and Harbrand, and there's like a little bit of overlap with them and Elf Guy and his girlfriend. So I just kind of roll those 2 into one. But yeah, the Harfoot stuff really doesn't improve throughout the entirety of the series. The Galadriel stuff is fine. It's just, it doesn't make sense that she's 5,000 years old and nobody knows or respects her, and she acts like really impatient and like childish, right? Like, she would already have been wise to the way the world is. She's like the second oldest being in Middle Earth or something. So the way they write her is like a 20-year-old who's developing into a more mature version of herself. You had 5,000 years to do that. So I just think it's poor writing. And to contrast it from Hot D, I think this is a show where you needed to use time jumps to show how long-lived Elrond and Galadriel are. And they're seeing entire generations of men pass by like it's nothing to them. So doing time jumps to show that perspective would have been great. Meanwhile, they don't use them at all, and they just drag their feet. So that's kind of my thesis. I don't need to get into spoilers or nitpick it. It's a little slow and boring for me, and
Visuals wise, I mean, that's kind of the only thing we praised in our original episodes. Did it kind of hold up?
It looks good, but it still looks like The Hobbit as opposed to Lord of the Rings, which I think is a downgrade. It's too much computer still. Like, it looks good, and everything's got sunset filter on 11, but it's still, I don't know, a little hobbity.
Do you guys remember when we watched the Hobbit movies?
I love them now compared to this.
Oh, wow, Mike. Well, we'll do it again, maybe.
Yeah, right. I always do watch these during Thanksgiving, like the original trilogy during this time of year. So I will be doing an OT rewatch. And maybe I'll throw The Hobbit on after if I'm
interesting.
Rewatch the season of Rings
with new
of Power.
Context, and then I'll put Rings of Power. And jump
I'm coming up on Harry Potter season, so to throw back to our past episodes.
Yeah, because we did do a whole watch through.
Time.
Yep,
it's about that time, Jacob. Fucking Harry Potter season, baby.
Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. We did all those through this time. But yeah, that's
right.
where we're at there. Hot D, maybe.
Let's hot D it, because it truly just does not sound like
A
you're
show that
happy
we
at
all watched and we all finished and we all liked, I
Maybe a
think.
show that.
And-
Go ahead, Colin.
Well, I was gonna say, and what a shocker, Jacob, because I think just watching that first episode, I was very skeptical. We all kind of had our people we were pinning to, who maybe we've changed on that too. And
Yeah.
Mike throwing out the time jump stuff. It's like us watching that first episode. There's no time jump stuff. Now the whole concept of the show has just exploded open in this huge way. It's so
Yeah.
different.
And I just wanted to say before we jump in, it's like it's a tale of like two different starts. We have the Rings of Power, which obviously is based on like one of the most beloved franchises in fantasy, right? Which Game of Thrones was at one point, but then that last season really upset a lot of fans, and a lot of people were kind of off the Game of Thrones brand for
Yeah.
a while. So it's like, can this thing right the ship? And then
lot
meanwhile,
of
can Lord of the Rings even come out of the gates correctly? And that's where we go.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people thought, can this show hit like, Game of Thrones did in its prime? They were kind of doubting it. I was on the train of like, oh, I'm going to probably enjoy it regardless of how big of a hit it is. So like I was already sold on it from like the first like trailers or whatever. And then it kind of paid off because it did, it did work. And I think the whole time jumps, it's talking about this, what we now know is like a civil war of, the Targaryens, basically the Dance of the Dragons. This season is sort of the prequel to the main event where it's leading up to it. So you see the history of these characters going back years. And that's why I think the time jump worked, where you can see the relationships evolve over this period of time. And I think that really worked in this season.
Yeah, and you're a bit of a lorester, books reader, and also
Yeah.
you're someone who you've said you could go back and watch the early seasons, even
Yeah.
with how bad the later ones are. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I could, but I have no desire to. Like, I'm sure I would have fun with seasons 1 through 4-ish, but I never
Right.
had that desire. So, and then Colin, I don't know how you feel.
Well, I used to watch whenever the new seasons came out when Game of Thrones was on, I would watch the whole series from the beginning before
No,
every new season just to so
No.
I've rewatched
No.
that show many times just
Why?
because those first seasons are so good. Like I
They
just
are.
got to rewatch them,
It's extremely YouTubeable. I don't know if I've told you guys that.
Hmm.
Sometimes when I'm playing video games, I'll just throw on like best of Game of Thrones scenes, and you'll get
Oh, sure.
3-minute segments of just the whole universe where I'm like, this show is just fucking hitting right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got
And
some
it-
great scenes.
And again, it's doing time jumps, which I think Rings of Power should have, and they're both kind of precursors to these big events. Like they're both kind of prologues, let's say. But
Yeah.
the way they do the storytelling and everything feels so efficient, even with the time jumps. It's like
But-
they're getting a lot of information across quickly, which Lord of the Rings
Totally.
does not. They get zero information across slowly.
And the fact that HBO trusted the writers and the showrunners of Hot D to kind of take it slow in the first season and set up all this, it's really going to pay off next season when the main event starts to happen, basically, because we've had such a build up with these characters and gotten to know them. It was a sort of a slow burn, but at the same time, super interesting to watch. So I think, I'm happy that HBO kind of, let them have creative control like that.
Yeah. And so rich, I was telling you, Jacob, this must be how people who watch The Sopranos feel. Like when I watch it, I'm like, the drama, the intrigue, the little, politics that are going around. I get so fed up and interested in all of it.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. The characters, I feel like I have a great understanding of like their motivations and who they are because we spent this early time with them. And even the look, like this looks better than Rings of Power to me. Like it feels more grounded, more real, more tangible, I think it's got
and
a
they were-
great look.
Totally. And they used, the stagecraft in certain scenes with the dragons and stuff, but I think it's some of the best stagecraft stuff that we've seen. And they use it to really good effect. And I also just think, the characters being so strong and having been built up compared to Rings of Power, like you can have like the best action, the best effects or whatever in the world, but if you don't care about the characters, then you're not going to care about the story, right? So Hot D, they understand like characters come first and then have them in interesting scenes, and then it's super watchable.
Yep, and they didn't really do is the opposite. We have a $1 billion costume department and CG department, but the characters kind of suffered because they had amateur writers. So at least here, I'm sorry if I keep comparing the two, but it's
Makes sense.
a tale of two franchises, right? We have low fantasy, high fantasy, and there we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of comparative, now, Jacob, when we did that first episode, you were very concerned about how is this Millie Alcock's handoff going to go to Emma Darcy? Not saying, which do you think is better, but now having seen the whole season, how are we feeling about these performances? Emma Darcy did okay?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, again, it's like a really bold choice to have the two, basically the main characters of the show, right? Which is Rhaenyra and Alicent, two opposing women. We see where they start from, how they grow, but to have the whole first half of the season, have them played by these younger actresses, and then switch them off for the main actresses that are going to be featured in the later seasons, that's just also another huge risk of like, okay, the first 5 episodes of your show, you're going to have these actresses. Hopefully they do well. And then, and they did so well that people are like, no, we don't want them to change now. But then, the new actresses came in, and I think they did well too. So I think it all worked out.
No, you get a good depth of understanding the characters and their relationship from childhood, and I think both sets of actors, the young version and older version, are great. They like pair perfectly together, like a Negroni and a little prosecco,
That's right.
Splendid.
That's right.
Splendid.
Negroni Spagliato.
Spagliato, yeah, that's right.
Is that what she says? Does she say, resplendent?
Negroni Spagliato with a little prosecco, and then splendid.
Ooh,
yeah.
Stunning. Yeah.
Stunning. That's what she says. Oh, stunning. Stunning.
But that's
like
how I
people
feel about
loved,
this show. It's stunning. Yeah.
Yeah, people love Millie
Yes.
Alcock so much, but again, like, some people are just like, we'll just keep her as the actress. It wouldn't have worked once you get to the later when she has teenage sons, that wouldn't work to believe that she, even if they did age her up with like makeup or something,
And just an obviously fascinating person that Emma Darcy is. My father really had a lot of trouble with the birthing scenes with this show, but I really enjoy what Emma Darcy has gone on to kind of say, but like, that's the point. It's like,
right. I know, but
of course you get, but Emma says that her mother in that first episode of The Woman's Battlefield is childbirth. They tell you the entire story right there. The fact that the entire show is a battle of lineage and inheritance and all that stuff. Childbirth is violent. It is cruel in this world to bring someone in just to have an heir.
Yeah. And it shows the realities of medicine and childbirth in a time like that, like medieval times. And of course, the men would have to go off and fight in wars and that kind of thing. And then the women their duty to the family is to provide heirs to
even if you're
carry
the
on
queen.
the family name. And I really like what they do with families and stuff where they have Corlys, right? The Corlys Valerian. He's all about, it doesn't matter if they're actually your child or not, but it's the name that matters. So even though he knows these kids aren't really like blood related to him, they're still carrying on the name, and that's what's important to him.
Yeah. It's as long as we can track the old family tree down, right? It's okay. That's part of legacy. But then there's another group. What is the right order of succession? And then that's where we get the civil war. It's the disagreement between that. But
right. But the childbirth scenes, super graphic, super hard to watch, but they're sort of brutally realistic to be like, witness this because this is what it used to be like.
Right, you can handle mad decapitations and stuff, but like a childbirth scene, it's like it's just in that world, like you said, Jacob. The stakes of life and death are pretty fucking high. So
and the mortality rate
effective way. Yeah, even the infants have.
We had 6. 2 of them didn't make it. You're like, that's 6.
That's why I have to have as many as possible because so many wouldn't make it out of out of adolescence.
The kickoff of the whole show. You can have adult sons and they can fucking not even be alive by the end of it. You're like, what do I do? I got to give it to this guy who's turning into a gargoyle.
Right. And then Viserys, he's such an interesting character. Speaking of the gargoyle man, I mean,
he was a great character.
Are we going best actor here, guys, for Paddy Considine?
I think he killed it. And, people were kind of iffy on him at the beginning, but Viserys is such an interesting character because he's not like a super noble, like a Ned Stark guy, but he's also not evil. He's just like a genuinely good guy who's like trying his best, but maybe not the best, person to be king, but he is king due to these unlikely scenarios. So now he's just doing the best he can.
And the issue is that he's obsessed with Legos. Now, quick shout out.
Yes,
Jacob
yes.
and I went to a Halloween party together where a couple, Tracy and Allison, shout out, were
That's
dressed
right.
as, Mike, old Viserys with the half mask and the crown. And then Allison, his partner, would lean backwards and she had the game model table on her chest. And he would be like, oh, I'm playing with my things. It
gosh.
was incredible.
Yeah,
That's
that was a great
amazing
couple's
to
costume.
And I mean, again, is this show taking over pop culture? I kept texting you guys. I thought old One Eye was going to be the number one costume this year. We didn't see any, but I saw
yeah.
a ton
good one.
online.
Yeah, like
all you need is
Aemon
an
you're
eye
talking
patch,
about,
a
right?
blonde wig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aemon Targaryen.
Get his eye cut out when he's a child because he's being a punk bully.
That's
you know?
right.
Give me that
Yeah.
dragon.
But I think in terms of being in the zeitgeist, right? People were talking about this show the same way Game of Thrones in its peak, where like it was very zeitgeisty. Compared to Rings of Power, I don't really know anyone that was talking about that other than to say how not good it was, which is not generally what you want people to be saying about your show. So it's like to just compare them, which is hard not to compare because they're both on at the same time. They're both major fantasy franchises.
Friday and Sunday back to back.
Probably not a
weekend.
good idea.
No. And Amazon, they invested a lot of money into that show just for this to happen. It's kind of funny, but
Yeah, so I don't know how season 2 is going to turn out for Rings of Power, but I am very excited for season 2 of House of the Dragon. I do really love that show. If there wasn't an anime, that would probably be my favorite show. And depending on the day of the week, I might even, the more I think about it, be like, yeah, it's pretty good. So who knows?
I like hearing that, Mike. Let's say favorite characters then, because on our first episode, you declared a very interesting favorite character. I'd like to hear you on update.
Oh, yeah.
Let me update this, okay? So in the beginning, we're looking at the field of bachelors, right? Like it's the Bachelor. And when I'm
Who
picking,
will win your honor?
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily
You're putting your little
picking.
handkerchief out, Mike.
Yeah, I'm picking mine, right. But I wasn't necessarily picking based on who is maybe going to long term be the most best character.
You just don't know
who's gonna not die, maybe. And I was like, that guy, Christian Cole, why not? And I put my handkerchief out there, and it turns out he's kind of an asshole, but he's still alive. But
that's the thing with this show.
I got to, distance from his actions.
Yeah.
I do not agree with the actions of Christian Cole. Yeah.
The thing with the show is there's really no good characters where you can say they're 100% good. Maybe Viserys is the only one. In Game of Thrones, you had the Starks. They were generally
Brienne Tarth,
trying to do the right thing. Brienne Tarth.
Oh, yeah.
Down the middle.
Tyrion was a good guy. But in this show, it's like they're all kind of assholes in their own way. It's just like, which asshole do you like the most? For me, Daemon, great character too. And he's a super divisive character because he's not a good guy. He's done some bad stuff. We all know that.
And then in our first episode, we were all, I was just like, this guy, Jacob, how dare you even imply that this guy is good? Matt Smith is out of his element here.
Yeah.
He looks wrong. He's not acting like the rest of them. Then you get into this season, and you're like, oh, to steal a term, he understands the assignment. He's maybe the only one who's like, no. I'll walk around with my sword like I'm in a fantasy world.
Yeah. You see how ripped he is when he fights the Lobster King or whatever.
The crab feeder. The red lobster. Yeah.
The red lobster king. That's right.
No, when I saw that, I was like, this guy, he's like the Witcher. They should cast him as the Witcher.
God, yeah. They have to redo that.
Yeah.
Mike, updated. Is he replacing Christian Cole? Are you a Daemon guy?
No, he still killed one of his wives and probably would have killed the second one if she didn't walk in front of a dragon. So that's
the thing. He's not a good guy. There's no.
Yeah.
But are you? Let me ask you this: are you rooting? Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, who is your guy? Yeah.
I like Aemon now. I like Eye Patch Guy. He's like, I want to rule. So, I know how this works. He kind of gets it.
But let me drop these colloquialisms down. And Jacob, you almost seem above this, and I'm not even sure if it's knowledge based or whatever. But the green versus black war, where
that's
I'm
what
like,
I was.
I feel like
ask you guys.
But I feel like you're not even going to have an opinion on it. Mike, are you team green or black?
We're Team Black.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That would be Rhaenyra and her family are the blacks, basically.
and Blackstone. Right?
Alicent are the
Because
the
if
high
you
powers
like
are the green.
Aemon,
Yeah.
it seems like
I-
you're a green boy.
I
He's a
like
green boy.
Aemon, but they picked Aegon, and he's a fuck. So
Well, he's the
I'm-
eldest child, right? So it's
Right. So I'm Team
But-
Rhaenyra. I'm Team Rhaenyra. Team Black. The Greens.
I
Sorry.
am as well. I got to
Yeah.
root for the blacks. And, Aemon, he's a fascinating character because he basically is kind of idolizing Daemon, right? He sees his uncle Daemon
They
as
just
like,
cut one letter off his name. Yeah.
yeah, he's trying to be like him basically, but he's on the other side of things. So he's
Mhm.
holding it down over there. But, in general, I like Rhaenyra's side a little better because Alicent, she's kind of an interesting
Insane.
character too.
And
Yeah.
her dad. I don't like her
Insane.
dad.
Yeah.
Well, team wise, we have Drunky McRapes a lot, the young man who's in charge that we just talked about.
Aegon,
His-
the second of his name, the Conqueror. Yeah.
King of the Andals. That's right, Mike.
Jesus.
His sister wife, Jacob, are we correct about that? He has married
his sister wife, yes, the little autistic girl.
who straight up has like
prophecies. She's spouting prophecies and whatnot.
Little,
medieval,
Braun the Broken.
autism, which is fascinating to see. And then
Yeah.
Eye Patch Son, who Mike is the dopest character alive, anime villain. We have talked about it,
Yes,
but again, not the nicest guy on the planet.
But again, the way they set up his
No.
character, where he's like, when he's a kid, he has kind of the balls to like bond with Vagar, the oldest and biggest dragon left in the world, and basically steal Vagar out from the blacks and take him for himself. And then we see him grow up into this like badass like fighter. Of course, he's going to be like a fan favorite character.
But he was the bullied kid too, Jacob.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a dragon. You're the pig rider. And you just think if these little dark-haired, curly Italian boys who are
Yes.
part of my lineage, certainly not, blonde gods that walk the earth.
Yeah, yeah.
If they just hadn't bullied their silly little tall sibling or cousin or whatever, we'd be fine.
Yeah, cut his
Yeah.
eyeball and shit. It's like,
yeah.
Well, he kind of
That's what I
deserved
had.
that one, but
Well, yes. Don't.
But
leave
they
my
were,
mom
they
kids.
were.
I take your mom's Maserati. I claim it. It would be like, yeah, like Mike. What if I tried to take your mom's car?
Yeah,
Like,
where's
no,
your
you can't.
LeBaron,
Yeah.
Freddie?
She's dead.
Yeah.
She crashed that.
well, the
car.
best
Right.
description I've seen of the show is like, this is basically like if the British royal family all had like fighter jets, individual fighter jets that they had, and like that was like the
Transformers.
main source of power in the world. That that's why they were.
There's only
kings.
like
They-
17
but-
of them.
Yeah,
But we all had Model Ts still, but they truly were like F-19 Warhawks.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my god.
so it's all about who has more dragons, and we see
Yeah.
Daemon in the end, trying to tame. So there's some
Trying
wild
to
dragons.
fly
some
3
dragons.
at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm very excited for next season. The sad thing is that I don't think coming out until like 2024, with the way they're doing the shooting schedule and everything. So kind of a long wait for season 2.
Right.
I'm going to check that, and I'm going to check Rings of Power as well before we get out of here. It says no release date, sometime likely in 2024.
Yeah, because they haven't even started shooting it yet. So they're going to be shooting
Right.
in 2023,
Release a
released
year.
in 2024. But I'm very excited. There's going to be more action. There's going to be more, big stuff happening in season 2. And we see even in the finale, spoiler alert, we get some shocking death scenes, right?
Dun dun dun
At least
dun
one.
dun 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 dun.
That's right. And it looks like Rings of Power started potentially filming in October, so who knows if they're fast tracking that or not. But you'd think they would do the studio Olympus Has Fallen, White House Down, and just go head to head, Ants and a Bug's
Right.
Life. Like, they'll just
Look, Amazon
battle it
has
out.
the peripheral now, so they don't need Rings of Power. They've got the new best show, The Peripheral, which we're all watching, of course.
Yeah, according to, for a while on football, all I could hear about, especially Thursday nights, was how Rings of Power, Amazon Prime's #1 show.
And
Like,
Howie,
what other
I'm
shows
sitting
do you
here-
have?
Of course, coming up next, we've got the Rings of Power, where Durin and Elrond are going to try to make the One Ring. Coming up next, of
That's
course.
right.
You know what?
You're
Yeah,
like,
that is.
"What?"
It was worth the purchase. Just hearing those guys try to
Yeah,
be like,
absolutely.
oh, Galadriel,
Well, it's
hell
funny
of a
that,
show. I love her.
And it's funny because, of course, Amazon bought the Thursday night football
Right.
game, so they're doing the presentation of Thursday night football. But the way the schedule's gone, if you follow football at all, they've gotten some of the worst games this year on Thursday night. And so it just seems like everything's going wrong for Amazon right now. I don't know how that's relating to like, their business overall, but you love to see it,
I'm sure
Yeah.
on Black Friday they're going to recoup everything that they lost with either of those two endeavors. It'll all
Yeah.
come back once people shop
And their
online.
new hit show, The Peripheral.
That's
Uh,
right.
Anyway.
A little cyber-esque. Any last thoughts on these two fantasy franchises before we maybe get into the future and then into anything else we have coming up?
I'm trying to think about who my favorite hot tea
Yeah,
character
yeah.
is.
Who's your favorite
Have
character
I
now?
said anybody to you guys to be like, it's this person? It's definitely not Foot
I
Fetish
think
guy.
it's
Yes,
no,
I
I
was
was
gonna
gonna say
say
it's I'd say it's definitely Foot
I'm
Fetish guy.
beating you to the punch,
Oh,
Jacob.
man.
Absolutely not. That guy, Slow Loris, I call him every time he comes on screen.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino, yeah.
For me, it's Damon and Rhaenyra are probably my two favorites. They're the
Yeah.
power couple
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
I
I
might
don't-
be an Aemon guy. Yeah.
I like Eamon Eye Patch. Damon I can't get behind because he's a wife murderer and incester. But
I'm
Rhaenyra, I
proud
can
of him for
appreciate
getting
her.
away with that, Mike. I'm a guy who can show up in
Get
a
away
hood,
with it.
bash his wife's brains in, and then go, see ya. I game recognized game. Let me put it
That
that way.
might say something about the
It was just a hunting
place of
accident.
privilege he has. Yeah, like Baratheon.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
but all of them are complex. So yeah, I think Viserys is one of my favorite too. Though, like he's probably one of the. He's not a bad guy. I can't think. Did he do anything bad except just not
no.
have a strong hand? Right.
The stepping stones, the war. He was very preoccupied with his
mismanaged.
own
He made
succession
tactical
issues.
errors.
And of course, he made the mistake of, do you want your wife to receive medical treatment and have an abortion, or try to have this baby and it might die? Well, it might be a son. Try to have this baby.
The thing
Yeah.
with that choice
You
too
lose
is
both.
that I'm pretty sure the choice is that either save the baby and the wife dies, or they both die. Because I don't think there was any saving her.
Okay.
Because the way like medieval medicine works, like if the baby is like stuck inside you, they didn't have the,
bleeding
technology
would not stop.
Yeah,
Right.
which is why like Damon's wife, the Valerian woman that like killed
Mhm.
herself because
Yeah.
of that, because she had like the baby stuck inside of her, and then
Right. I
like-
did forget about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
so
Terrifying.
really, yeah.
But Damon
It's
was
not good
just
news
about to
in
be
either
faced
way.
with the same choice, that his brother had to make, and she made the choice.
Still a
for him.
hard choice, yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
absolutely.
One thing I want to say about Viserys, just to get it on record, because I think this is such a strong performance, and the reason that I want to highlight Patty Considine and say this guy does deserve Best Actor. Please let it happen.
Mhm.
Leading up to it, when we would get the slow instances of, oh, he's losing a thing, oh, he's kind of hobbled over, oh, he's kind of like doing this thing now, before the complete deterioration, my dad would say every week watching it, well, he just needs to die. He just needs to die. I don't understand what's going on there. He just needs to die. He's getting sick and all this weird stuff. He just needs to get out of all this, move on and die. And Jacob, you would explain it to me, and I just thought this was such a perfect way to put it, of his superpower is he stays alive because he knows the moment he dies, civil war will break out. And
Yeah.
every person he loves might die, but they will at least be put in jeopardy. And the passion and love of a father is, then I'm in for the long haul. And he pulls it off and lives so long that it becomes his weakness. It becomes the jailing. His longevity is a curse. He's put away by Alicent, who sort of maintains control. He loses whatever sort of built up base he had. It kind of ends up costing things in the long run. But that writing, and again, just to check in with the captain real quick, how is he doing? Are we making any progress on these books? Because he is such a talented
Yeah.
writer that, again, this stuff is all in like a poem that is like the whole history of the show is just like a poem that someone like had
Right.
a thought of or something, that is background coloring for characters of a main book set 200 years in the future. That's
Well, it's
astounding.
interesting because he, while he was writing the books, basically also created the entire history of the world of, Westeros. So he had like a rough idea of this whole story, and then wrote sort of a companion piece, which is it's basically written as a historical text of someone telling how it happened. So it's also an unreliable narrator, which is why there's certain
Hmm.
details in the show that are being fleshed out more than the source material. But it's really interesting. Yeah.
But she
And again,
really
I-
barefoot, right? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I said to you guys
Embellishment.
off pod, he says like, Stephen King, that's amazing that you can just get a book out a year, sometimes two. And again, the counter is like, he does not have this complex, rich backstory to one of his stories that has its own complex, rich backstory.
Yeah.
The tale of Viserys, this whole War of Succession, the fact that you have like literally, I would look it up and look at the ASOIF or whatever it's called, A Song of Ice and Fire wiki, whatever that thing's called,
Mhm.
where it'd be like, yes. And what is his name, Valerian, the gay guy that she marries?
Joffrey.
No,
no,
isn't
no,
that
was
her
his
son?
lover.
Lord
That was his
Corlys.
lover. Yeah.
Corus.
The son
or whatever
Corlys,
his name
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
The son of Corlys. That literally, that is in the text. It is strongly implied by whatever, oh, but you know, some say he would prefer the company of other men. You go like, okay, so that's
Right.
like the 15,000th sub character that you had to create for the background of the story. And he's also complex and has like a rich
And he's
story.
also did
Like,
that just
again, you're
for
like,
every,
what?
tertiary character in Game of Thrones, like all the different houses. There's a
Mhm.
million named characters in the books that don't even show up in the Game of Thrones show. So it's just like there's so much like world building. Like he's been building that world since the early 90s, right? When Game of Thrones first came out. But he is, still making progress on the next book in the series, The Winds of Winter. I read his blog posts a lot, which is very funny because he spends like at least 50% of them talking about the New York Giants and the New York Jets football teams, which he apparently just loves both New York football teams, and they're both
He
doing
likes
well
the
this season.
Brooklyn Nets.
I don't know if he likes basketball as much, but
The Jets
very
and
into
the
the
Giants.
Giants
Oh,
and the
I'm
Jets.
sorry. He's the Jets.
Yeah. But so he spends a lot of time talking about that,
I
and
said
then
the
he's like,
Nets.
and everyone's always asking me, yes, I'm still writing Winds of Winter, making good progress on it. And apparently, when COVID happened, he had a lot of downtime to kind of make progress on that. But who knows when that's coming out, because it's, the last book came out in 2015. So it's been 7 years now.
Mm-hmm. Who knows?
We'll see. But there's a lot written already, so who knows?
The irony of this situation is, to make one final comparison to Rings of Power, is, if only there was another author who would take painstaking, excruciating detail into the history of his world and the family tree and the relationships that were building up to the state of Earth when we get to Middle Earth, and there was a book perhaps that chronicled all this that you could pull from as rich source material to write a compelling show, and yet you don't.
Well, the thing with Rings of Power
Don't have
too
the
is
rights.
that
Right?
they don't. They
technically
can't
couldn't
use
do
the
it.
Silmarillion. They
So
don't
then
have the rights.
why
to
do
Silmarillion.
this at all? Yeah, to make
Because
money.
there's got to be a show.
It's got to be money in it.
But
Yeah.
the Tolkien estate apparently won't give them the Silmarillion. So this whole show's based on essentially like liner note, like
The
Like
appendix.
the appendix. It's
Which-
all appendix information.
which might contain some overlapping information from the Silmarillion, but we can't explicitly do. So we could say the name Morgoth, but we can't show you what that was, right? So it's like really, they're like, they're trying to make like a complete meal with scraps, and it's just not working. Meanwhile, Hot D's crushing. So that's all I have to say about that. But yeah. Out of the fantasy and into the sci-fi, maybe? Should we talk a little cyber corner, cyber update right after this on Normies Like Us?
We're back on Normies Like Us. It's your second serving. That's right. You're going back to that Thanksgiving meal, loading up for some more, coming back down to hear us talk, leaving the past, blasting forward to the future, because that's right. We're continuing forward. You heard our Cyberpunk episode. We're still going through it, babies.
Yeah, this is the Whatcha. So again, this is the second course, I guess, to the What's-Giving. And sometimes you've already had something on your plate, but you want to go back and get a little bit more, and that's kind of what we've been doing here. And so we're back in the cyber world because I haven't stopped. And Colin, I don't think you have either. Maybe Jacob, you can touch on this if you've done some cyber. But where are you at in the Cyberpunk 2077 game, Colin? What you playing, and how's that been going?
Still playing. Still have not beaten it. Have now cleaned out every gig. So I am happy to say that I've got all those done, all the submissions. Still have not bought every car, have every place. Pretty much have all the outfits and shit that I like. There is still just a thrill of just going to a clothing store and being like, oh, there's still something I don't have here. And it's $20,000 for some reason, even though it's a T-shirt. Why is clothing so expensive?
Yeah, that Jinguji T-shirt. You know, it's very
Hey, you bastards!
Designer.
yeah.
Oh, it is a
bulletproof,
samurai
too.
band shirt. I do have to buy this.
They got the nano weave bulletproof summer, windbreaker. It's like
Yeah.
cool, which is a thing from the tabletop game, I guess. I've been playing that a little bit. I'm excited to say that for listeners of the previous one, I was working on a full-size prop from the anime and the game, and I have finished that prop. So
Nice.
for the viewers on YouTube, I will show you now the Rebecca shotgun from the anime. It's
see it.
3D printed.
God damn.
Wow.
Very proud
A
of it.
segment we have done in the past, Mike, called "What You Printin'." We do
Yeah, what
love
you
to
printin'?
see it brought back here.
What you printin'?
You are a prolific 3D printer guy, and
Indeed.
the idea that
And that's a real
look at
gun.
how that thing is not.
It really
Guys,
works.
please stop.
Please stop. But Jacob, look at
Got
how
ghost
thick that
bullets.
thing is. Look at how long it is. Can you imagine? I
Yeah.
know you made it in what, 3 separate pieces, Mike? 4?
6 pieces, 12 hours to print
6.
each piece. It's 38 inches long, so it's the size of a standard real weapon in IRL, but styled after Rebecca's gun from the game, which was imported from the anime when they did the 1.61 update. So, I like the anime. Now I have a full-size replica of one of the in-game items, and I'm very pleased with the progress of my 3D printing because, that's kind of a very cyber skill. This all started as a roll of plastic, a little roll of plastic, and I made it into
The
a
fucking
thing. So
painting and sanding that you did on that bad boy too, it looks profesh grade, dog.
thank
For
you,
sure.
thank you. It's preem, Choom. Some
It is
preem
cream, Jim.
prints,
Cream as hell.
Choom.
It's that fucking government tech, dog.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's no, this ain't none of that Saka tech. This isn't no corpo tech. This is fully street level. Black market
right.
printing. But so that I've still been obsessed, and on that, I still have to buy all the cards too. That I am looking forward to playing that over break some more. I rewatched, and I don't know when the last time you guys have rewatched it, but I rewatched Blade Runner 2049. Have you guys seen that recently at all?
I have seen that recently, or I saw that. I want to say back in the spring, early summer. I was watching some movies as I do, and that's one of my all-time favorites. And I love, I love the original Blade Runner. I love Denis Villeneuve, so it's like a match made in heaven for
Dune.
me.
You
Mhm.
do
Dune.
love Denis Villeneuve. Yeah, you love Dune. You love Blade Runner.
Blade
That was a
Runner
quarantine watch for
2049
me.
to
Not watching
Dune
it,
Part 1. That's like one of the best 1-2 punches ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Going back to
visually,
Ridley Scott, Alien and Blade Runner.
Oh,
damn! Wow, just a reverse
how
order.
dare you?
No, but I did rewatch it, and I like the original Blade Runner too, but I think maybe it's better. That's like sacrilege. Not on
You
a
like,
craft level, but plot-wise, it's better.
What is Gosling's name? Zip or Zero or something
K.
like that? What is K? You like
K.
K
Just
better
K.
than Deckard.
You're way off
Yeah.
baseline.
Well, you're way off baseline. Cells. Interlinked.
Cells.
Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Yes.
Cells. The
it's great.
cells are interlinked.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
Interlinked cells. No, I think the plot in general is more interesting than Blade Runner's plot. Obviously, there's
Yeah.
iconic moments and iconic visuals. The special effects in Blade Runner are like never the original Blade Runner. Like that 16 exposure shot of the city just to get the flames. Like that's all done in practical. Like you'll never touch that stuff. But the plot, I think, is stronger in 2049. And while I was
Yeah.
sanding and painting this, I'm like, let me throw on a long ass movie because this is going to take a while. And you do got to be like Thanksgiving break. It's the kind of movie you got to be ready to sit back and sit with. But I love it. I think it looks incredible. Yeah, highly recommend checking it out.
I think
if you haven't seen it in a while.
It's a great sequel because it's following its own. It's following a different character. So the Harrison Ford character is in it, but they use him in a way where he's just shows up basically in the third act of the movie.
Mhm.
So he's more of a supporting character, and I like how they did that. It's just following Ryan Gosling's character. It's a great cast. You have Ana de Armas as his like fake girlfriend hologram.
Yeah, Joy.
Yeah, but Jacob, you're
product.
forgetting in the third act where it all just becomes about Corey Cunningham. It's like, yeah, I just hate that part.
Right.
Oh yeah,
These damn Lego sequels.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deckard's barely in it. You know, it's all about Kay Kari Cunningham.
But we didn't need to see Deckard
Remember when
because
Corey takes Deckard's mask, Mike?
yeah, he takes his blaster. And
the difference here, I think, is that Ryan Gosling's character is actually an interesting character in this movie.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a great movie.
We talked
Love
about
it.
some of the themes of cyber, where it's like, oh, what is transhumanism and stuff. In the main movie, people is Deckard a replicant or not? And we're introduced to the concept of replicants and what it is to be human, right? And then this one, it's just like, this is not a human. But how does he deal with coming to the realization that maybe he might be? And like, what if everything he's been told is wrong? And to see him navigate society, you know, is pretty interesting as a non-human, and the way that they're kind of subservient. You know, it's like, what if we had, you know, it's like, because they're essentially slave labor. So it's like if you had a story set during the Civil War where you have like slaves hunt down other escaped slaves. It's like a fucking crazy concept just set in the future. So I think Kay's an interesting character.
Totally.
Counterpoint, not for me. I didn't really understand it the first time I saw it. It has taken some subsequent viewings where, Mike, that stuff you just said about what am I and that sort of stuff has now clicked in where I'm like, oh, okay, that is interesting. To your guys' point about the visuals, though. Now, this is shot by Roger Deakins, who is, of course, the greatest cinematographer who has ever existed. And the idea that he's, you know, using sort of like, well, show me what a actual practical hologram would do, and then we'll figure out where, like, the, you know, I'll set sort of like the lighting to do, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's a genius. There has been talk, to jump to another cyberpunk thing. Johnny Mnemonic. Johnny Mnemonic has a director's cut coming out that is going to be quote unquote better, and the original vision of in black and white. Now, I have seen some people, because of that, Mike, go, that's the thing. That's the cyberpunk aesthetic. They should do a mod for Cyberpunk 2077 where it's in black and white, and they should release a cut of Blade Runner 2049 in black and white. To which I would say, I think you're all mistaken. The cyberpunk aesthetic is neon. It is rain.
You need the
it
colors.
Is smoke, muted colors with heightened colors. You're all thinking of neo-noir. Neo-noir is very different.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I would say, black and white doesn't always work out. And yeah, you need that neon 80s inspired aesthetic, you know?
Blade Runner 2049 black and white? Can you imagine that, Mike? That would be terrible.
No, the color is such, like, even just thinking of the Wayland building where there's that one yellow stripe, and like all of his clues are keyed by the color yellow. Everything that leads him down his journey is yellow, the yellow flower and all this.
That's interesting.
So like losing the color really would lose like literally the narrative thread, you know, of the mystery, of the detective part anyway. But yeah, it's go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, you know, talking about the, you know, transhumanism and what does it mean to be human and all that. What I like about this movie too is that there's like different levels of AI. So you have like the replicants. You also have his girlfriend hologram, which is like basically like Joy.
Ana de Armas.
And so it's like, you know, is she human, or how, you know, how much can you replicate a human before you are, you know, interchangeable from a human?
Yeah, because we have a guy who's clearly not human. He's a replicant. We're told that from the beginning. And then his girlfriend is a product from the Wayland Corporation that's essentially an AI that's designed to be whatever you want it to be. So how much of it is it just reading kind of his personal search history or whatever that metadata is?
Why would a robot need a girlfriend? I mean, it's also sad.
Because he's
like,
lonely.
He thinks he's
programmed with feelings and needs and wants.
Instead of getting that, they sell you the solution, and then even the villain is like, are you satisfied with our product, you know? And it's like, even at the end you're like, did she really love him, or was that just a very good product? And it's a lot to it's way fucking heavy, but it takes a couple viewings, and I appreciated it much more the second time, and I highly recommend people watch it again if you haven't in a while, you know?
Definitely. And of course the original you
sad.
Had, you know, Deckard, is he a replicant or not? It's open-ended, where it's like you're kind of assume yes by the end of it, but it's purposely ambiguous. Whereas in this one, you have right at the top, they tell you like he's a replicant, but he's doing his job as a Blade Runner, hunting down other replicants and whatnot. Plus, you have Batista in a great role.
You love Batista,
right? I love
Just
Batista.
give him some little glasses. That's the best Batista. When he has little glasses, he's the best. Yeah.
Old
Big
Batista.
guy with some little glasses.
Yep. I guess to piggyback off of Johnny Mnemonic and to what you've been reading, I finished Neuromancer and I've started the sequel, which is written by the same author of Johnny Mnemonic, William Gibson. So I've started.
You're a Gibson boy.
I'm a Gibson boy now, yeah. So I've started Count
There you
Zero, and it's very cool. I don't want to
Nice.
spoil it, but it's
Wow.
very cool. It follows 3 different protagonists, and I'm not sure how it's all going to weave together. Right now, they're very separate, but they're all very distinct and cool. And I'm just interested to see how their journeys are going to maybe interweave.
Say
later.
the book name one more time.
Count Zero. And
Is this a trilogy? Is the next one Snow Crash? Is that what it's called? Or
that's a
something like
different one, but there's so
Okay.
this trilogy is Neuromancer, Count Zero, and I cannot wait to read Mona Lisa Overdrive.
that? Yes. Yeah, that's a pop culture reference.
Yeah, and then
that's great.
The short story compendium that was written in a cyberpunk universe that
Burning
contains
Chrome.
Johnny Mnemonic, yes, it's called Burning Chrome, and that's where Johnny Mnemonic, and that's Gibson too.
Well, Mike,
so
I
cool, dude.
Yeah.
have some news for you. If you're into William Gibson, I was
Mhm.
joking about this show earlier. Amazon's
Yeah.
new show, The Peripheral,
It all
it was
comes
based
back.
on a
Coming up
William
after
Gibson novel.
Thursday Night Football, we have, of course, The Peripheral,
The Peripheral.
which you know is based on a William Gibson story created by the creators of Westworld. Now, Barry, are you going to be watching this?
Oh, you
That's
know,
right. So it's
transhumanism.
a show. I have
I
not
got
watched
hit.
this show yet. I have not given it a chance yet, but it is
You're
obviously
recommending
tied-
a show you haven't watched?
I'm not recommending.
He's
I'm
saying
just
it
telling
has
you
DNA.
it's based on William Gibson that you're bringing him up. But it's I looked
Amazing.
into it. It's
Mhm.
based on a novel that he wrote in 2014, so it's more recent.
Oh yeah,
William Gibson, a guy that's still alive and still writing, I guess.
yeah.
Mike Stephen King.
Mike Stephen King. Yeah. Do you know the name of the book by chance, or?
I think probably The Peripheral. I'm
Might
not
just
sure.
be.
Though.
God,
But,
stupid questions will get stupid answers. You're right. Yeah. Okay. It's probably the
I
Peripheral.
don't know if it is or not, but it might be.
Be a
But
short.
that's what the show is called. But
Mhm.
yeah, the show is out now. I'm gonna have to watch it at some point. It looks kind of like a Westworld, like they're setting up all these questions that may never get answered. So I don't know how. I don't have a lot of patience for that
Jacob,
kind of
what
thing.
was the last thing with Chloe Grace Moretz you watched?
I don't know. I don't know. She hasn't been doing much.
She's
recently,
gone, man. I don't think anybody needs to watch this.
No, I'll try it. See in 10 episodes, listeners. Maybe I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah.
But
Like the king of Amazon shows that none of us watch.
Based
Let
on
me
that
s-
William Gibson connection, you have to watch it now.
That's interesting.
well, if you really are William Gibson boy, you won't give any money to the corpo overlords, and you'll say "fuck Amazon." You won't
That's
watch
true.
any of it. Yeah.
But also, he sold the rights to his story to Amazon.
I
So
just
corpo sellout.
quite.
Just like Johnny Silverhand. Yeah, and we're all hypocrites in the end. Here's my other thing for cyber. I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but just do the Cyberpunk movie. Get Keanu Reeves, get Johnny Mnemonic, get Neo, get him in to be the Johnny Silverhand in the Cyberpunk
No, you don't.
2023 movie, because that's when he's
And
alive.
get me to play V.
Best tune.
I think it's just the sex, right? I think that's really the only thing. The nudity of the world, how adult it is. I think you could push that boundary a little, but I don't think they could go as far as the game does.
No, but you could make an R-rated movie like, the other ones. There's
Yeah, it should be rated
prostitution,
R.
is like there's nudity in some of
It
these.
should be rated fucking X, dog. It should be
Well,
about
the-
fucking
the amount of
shooting
violence
Jeff
in the
Bezos.
anime.
Exactly. Yeah.
The
it
bald
should be
head of
fucking-
biotech is
Come on.
not Jeff Bezos. Yeah, but they should do that. Take
See
advantage
live
of it.
action Atom Smasher.
Bro.
What if Jeff Bezos came out
cash
tomorrow and
in.
was like, I
Oh.
modded myself. I have 3 eyes on one side now. Like,
Yeah.
what?
He would be the guy that hires an Atom Smasher. He would have an Atom Smasher.
Yeah,
Just
he would be
hanging out with him.
Yorinobu.
Elon
Arasaka.
Musk would
Yep.
try to Atom Smasher himself and go Cyber Psycho. Jeff Bezos knows enough to be like, no.
I'll just
Yeah.
create an immortality chip.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
exactly.
yeah. So
I have
we're
the
getting
fucking
there.
San Devistan on, yeah.
Well, we got billionaires going to space. We are much closer to William Gibson's vision of the future than we ever have been. So,
Unfortunately.
cyber, it's a thing.
It's
but
not good. It's not a good future, Mike.
No,
I believe it's a dystopia.
Yeah, bleak.
Yeah. yeah, I
But
would
we're
prefer-
living in a dystopia, so it's okay.
it's not
More
okay.
shootings.
It's okay. Just watch some content. Forget about real life problems.
And
Whatcha-Whatcha.
purchase a robot girlfriend once they're available on the market.
That's right.
Can we jump from this and go
Mhm.
to another failed video game? So,
Yes, perfect.
I was critical of Cyberpunk. I'm not going to show a fucking bias here. Jacob, those reviews were coming out. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this thing? You were like, no, I'm going to try it. It's going to be good. And as we said in our episode, you lived through the shell of what that fallout was to begin with. You know,
The
where other
dark
people were
ages.
like, well, but the Chernobyl of like, this thing's radioactive, stay away. And some brave people would go in and be like, no, I have to like see this game, what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, little Pokemon Journey update, guys.
Oh,
Here,
yes.
boy.
I have to be true and honest here. I cannot be biased and say like, okay, when a AAA video game comes out, you know, if you like it, you're going to scale it up or grade it in some sort of weighted way. No, it's, guys, I'm going to say this is a bigger disaster than Cyberpunk 2077. I think the
Wow.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the newest
Well-
generation game, is a disaster, Jacob.
Here's what I've heard a little bit. I have not played it. I know our friend Xkita has been playing it a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've heard from most people online and stuff, it's there's a lot of problems. It's super buggy, it's super janky, but the underlying game, they're having a lot of fun with the actual Pokemon, and they said it's the best Pokemon in terms of the gameplay in years.
When
That's what
you
I've
can
heard from some
play it.
people. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
technical issues are another thing. But the actual core gameplay loop, they said it's the best it's been in a long time.
But
That's what I've heard.
technical issues aside, I love what you heard. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Just because we've done a Pokemon episode, go back and listen. We've talked about Pokemon other ways, but to give you guys a quick breakdown of Game Freak is the company that developed Pokemon. Then, of course, that was a game for the Nintendo. The Nintendo company is like, this is great. They form the Pokemon company to oversee Pokemon, the brand. But of course, Nintendo has nothing to do with the development, creation, or release of the video games known as Pokemon, which
That's
is
on
again
Game Freak.
only made by Game Freak, Jacob, who have only made one other kind of video game called like the story of a town, and it was an absolute disaster. Okay.
Got to be
and
attacked
just some-
right off. They're like, yeah, B team, go make that. Yeah, whatever.
And to give it some context, Pokemon is the best-selling game franchise of all time.
It's the largest media franchise, right, Colin?
Yeah,
Jacob, my friend, thank you, Mike. It is next to the Bible, Harry Potter,
yeah,
Marvel,
it's bigger
Disney,
than all of them.
all these things. Pokemon in Kyoto, Japan is, of course, the #1 franchise in the entire world. And you get it because, again, whether or not these games are good or whatever, everyone on the planet has a favorite animal. Everyone on the planet, like Harry Potter, where it's like, I know what kind of school I want to go to. Yeah, that's even like a little more complicated.
What house
Everyone has a
would
favorite
be?
animal.
Yeah.
You know in your heart, like, I identify my whole life, people have given me parrots. I'm a parrot guy. What's this? I don't play video games, but there's this adorable little
parrot
thing where
Pokemon?
there's Parrotmon, and he's meh, 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 and he
Mhm.
loves me, and, you know, we're together. That's, you know, you can see how quote unquote normies, us, this podcast, would be like, this is an awesome franchise. I want to be a part of this. It was a franchise that started when we were kids. #1 thing I wanted to be when I was a kid was the Green Ranger, R.I.P. Tommy, absolutely
Yeah.
terrible. And when I got a year older than that, #1 thing I wanted to be was a Pokemon trainer. And I still want to do that. If I could live in any world, in
Yeah.
a video game world, I would live in the quaint little adorable world where you could just walk around and hug squishy, ridiculous things and be friends with them.
You can
The
do that in
stakes
real
are
life.
much
You just have
lower
to go
than-
into the woods. And,
I will try to kiss every animal I come across in this world, and there will be repercussions, unfortunately.
Yeah, I could see that TikTok series, kissing every animal in the forest until I get mauled, part 10. You know, here's a bear.
Until I die.
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
what
Now,
I What-
just to
yeah.
say real quick, the issue is that because of that, because of pre-sales, because of everything,
Mhm.
Game Freak knows they're playing with a stacked deck, and there is no incentive for creativity. That's the whole issue, and we have reached the stagnation point of the eternal cool of the fire's not getting relit. It's the heat death of the universe. We're just receding. Each game, we are just receding.
Well, the big thing, I think
Mhm.
there's no reason why, if this game is such a hit, they get so much money from it. There's no reason to put out such a bad product. And we were talking a little bit with some friends off the pod about this, but I kind of see it as similar to Madden. So like I don't play every Pokemon game.
Right.
Like I played Sword and Shield. That was the first generation I played since like early days. Like I'm not really a Nintendo, like I
You
don't
were
have
like
a
a
lot of Nintendo
crystal
consoles
guy.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So now that I have a
Game Boy
Switch, I was like,
Color for context. Yeah.
yeah. But I have a Switch, so I was like, I'll try out this new Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I enjoyed it for what it is. But at the same time, I feel like once you played one of these Pokemon games, you've played them all. Like they're all essentially the same, right? Except for things like Arceus, which
Well,
try to
but
change up the
Jacob,
formula.
this
Yeah.
one had a blue bleep blorp. The new one I heard there might be a green blue blorp.
So you're
Right.
saying there's a
So-
roster
Like a new
update.
roster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which to compare it to Madden,
Here's the
I play,
rookies, 250
I'm
new
someone
players.
who's yeah, I've played a bit of Madden in my day.
But he's wearing a little jersey.
And of course, EA puts out Madden. They have a monopoly essentially where they have a exclusive contract with the NFL, so they're the only ones who can make NFL branded games. So
There's
it
no
puts them
competition.
in a bubble.
No
yeah,
other sports games.
where they have no incentive to make anything better. They have no incentive to like innovate. And I feel like that's what's happening with Pokemon now, where it's like they know these games are going to sell like gangbusters, so there's no incentive to actually just make them good or like make them work properly
Yeah.
because people just buy them anyways.
Right, and I guess to continue the Madden analogy, it's like you'll have one kind of core engine that they'll make a bunch of games on, and then eventually
And they'll just copy
PS5.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So
like,
for a couple
but
generations,
it can't be the same. They're like, it is.
pretty similar because the technology between Gen 1 to Gen 3 is pretty similar. Game Boy Color, so that's very much the same. And then we go to 3D, but this is trying to be open world, and they're like, oh, it's really hard to optimize it. But like Breath of the Wild runs on that system. You can play
Yeah.
Dark Souls and Doom Eternal on that system.
You can't blame the Switch. Like, yeah,
No.
you could. Yeah.
It was a launch release, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And it is an open world game. And now there are reports coming out that maybe there is some sort of memory leak, that the world is trying to clearly refresh and upload the whole open world instead of just doing the segments as you move around.
Yep.
And that's what's causing the performance issues. I'll be honest with you, I'm not even sure Game Freak cares. And there's a history on Bulbapedia, the Wikipedia for Pokemon, of when they patch these games. There's a long time between patches, guys.
I'll tell you another release this reminds me of Halo Infinite, another hugely anticipated franchise that shit the bed big time, had a ton of technical problems at launch, in addition to other problems with the gameplay and with monetization. And a lot of those problems didn't get fixed, or they took a really long time to fix. They're still trying to fix it. And it's just like, it's becoming this trend in games where you can just put out a half-finished shitty project, but if it's a good IP that people will pay for, then it won't matter because they'll just shill out for it anyway.
Day one patch were the game testers, the consumers, the guy who had to go to 4 Targets and pay $65 to get a physical copy of this game.
Of a broken game.
So what if it's broken? Yeah.
Yeah. We do live in a dystopia. You're right. And like if Cyberpunk 2077 was the first high-profile version of this like botched release, right, that everybody's stoked about, and it's just not finished. It just wasn't finished, clearly, right? Pokemon clearly to me seems it's not finished. All these bugs, it screams of unoptimized code. That's why you get memory leaks, because they didn't have the time, or they didn't care to take the time to clean it up and optimize the code for the system, and it runs like dog shit because who cares? We got to make our release window. We're still going to make $17 billion. Fuck it.
And of course, we know, people working in games, obviously there's a lot of crunch. There's a lot of, you got to work overtime to meet deadlines. And it all comes down to, again, they got to have it out by a certain release date for financial reasons. But it's like, it's the studio not caring about the product they put out, not caring about their employees, how hard they're working.
No.
And it's just
Game
a shame.
Freak is not unionized, Jacob. And I'll tell you this, they're not a huge team either. For the number one video game creators in the world, it's like 40 people.
Wow.
For the most profitable franchise ever.
Yeah, so
You
there's
can
no
employ
like it's
more
not like this is some indie
engineers.
studio or something. Like it's literally the biggest media franchise in the world, and you can't put out a game that works. Like it doesn't make any
And
sense.
I guess that's the real problem with the corpos, Jacob, is it's not you can't. It's that, again, what's the incentive?
There's no financial incentive
Why
to.
work
Yeah.
harder?
Mike-
We're going to make the
Mike
same
a
amount of money.
fucking-
Right.
Yeah.
Mike's a street kid catching real squirrels and making them fight, playing his own Pokemon game.
Yeah. Well, oh no, I'm not. What? I'm going to buy the Wayland CG parrot? No, I want a real parrot, dude.
That's
Fuck
right.
that.
But it's just sad because we're
Yeah.
getting older. But to think back when we were teenagers, like the game industry wasn't always like this. Like it used to be, you bought a game on a disc and you put the game in, and it just worked. There were no
Jacob.
after release patches. Like it just
Jacob.
worked on release day.
Mhm.
If I plugged my red or blue Nintendo Game Boy cartridge into my Game Boy and it didn't work, and my mom received something in the mail that said, well, this is the update, you have to plug it in for your kids to make the thing work, I would not have bought other video games. The
Right.
whole thing would have just stopped right there.
Mhm.
Right.
And there is this backlash because you jump on the subreddits. Our Pokemon are the Sylph Company, which is like this in-world anime
Yeah.
thing. It's more towards like the real gamers of it. Are Poke Jerk or are, real Pokemon fans. And it segments so much of like people posting and being like, hey, I understand you all think Scarlet and Violet is bad. And yes, the game is broken. But like you said, Jacob, people going, but it's my first Pokemon game. I'm 14. I was really excited about it. Could you not just like shit all over it? And then the battles of people going like, no, but you don't understand how bad you have it. You are caught in this loop of like, you used to just, things
being
used
abused.
to work.
Right.
And you can still go back and play the old versions
Yes.
and be like, wow, these work.
Yes.
Just go
And
back
it's just
one
this
game.
big circle.
Yeah.
But it's like politics where the issue is we have a thing that doesn't work. And people instead go, well, the issue is that you think it doesn't work, but really you should just be happy with what you got. And then the infighting starts and you go, forget the wedge issues, drop it. We're fighting. Again, corpos are
Mhm.
just cashing these checks on these huge pre-orders. I understand we're all never going to be able to make this agreement to go, the next one, we're not doing this. They
Right.
need to learn a
Well,
lesson.
that's the thing.
That's
and
not
that's
gonna
the thing with
Mhm.
Madden. That's the thing with a lot of things where it's like, yeah, you can vote with your wallet, but if millions of other people aren't willing to do that, then it's never going to change because, of course, people are still going to buy the Pokemon game. And it's hard to ask people to not buy it, but it's just like nothing is going to get better. And that's the underlying problem with capitalism, right?
And I have a
Mhm.
game where we're about to be on our Thanksgiving break, and I planned on vegging out on the couch, watching Wednesday, which I'm very excited about on Netflix,
Hey.
and playing Pokemon. And it's unfortunately to the point where I get a headache after 10 minutes. And even though it's like the first multiplayer game ever, my brother and I will talk and we'll be like, I don't really want to play it. It's like,
Wow.
nah, I'm going to do something else instead. And just to update you guys on my journey, when COVID started, when quarantine started, Normies, huge update for you guys. I said on this podcast, maybe on a Whatcha 3 years ago, this is Whatcha 220, Whatcha 140. I have no
Yep.
idea. I said, if we're all stuck at home, I'm going to try to get every Pokemon. That's my journey. Okay.
The whole deck.
I've hit a milestone recently, right before this game released, where pre this game, I'm going to ask you guys, how many Pokemon do you think there were, Mike? Pre
Before
this new
this game,
Yes.
I'm going to say 750.
750 from Mike. Jacob,
my guess.
a guess.
I have no idea, but I was just gonna randomly say 900.
All right.
Amazing.
That might be high, but
Jacob, my achievement that I hit, my milestone right before this new game, I hit that triple digits. I got to 900. Before this game,
Wow.
there were 905 Pokemon.
Wow.
Whoa.
I was racing and I was going like, we took our, of course, Normies Like Us funded vacation. We went to Las Vegas, the three of us
Mhm.
together, with some past Normies Like Us guests. Obviously, that was a big Normies Like Us vacation, right?
Yep,
That's right.
And you guys saw me playing the mobile game on my phone, right, as we were walking around the casinos.
Yep.
I have been in the Pokemon mode of
Yeah.
I can't let a single moment pass. I'm actively trying for 3 years. I'm going to get this Dex out.
Wow.
And that goes to show you how hard it is. I'll be honest with you guys. I've spent probably like $100 between different older games, getting those guys, moving them over to their paid Pokemon Home system, which is the
Yeah,
funnel where you
right.
house all these guys, which is, of course, a monthly subscription service.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys can't connect to this new game. And of course, like I said, the heat death of the universe, the diminishing return, every new Pokemon game that comes out, you can't have every single Pokemon in those new games. That would be an atrocity. I just wasted 3 years of my life trying to get all these things. They want you to waste 5-10 years trying to get all these things. Are you kidding? You could just get them all in one. Oh, then you just pay $60 and that would be it.
Right.
Okay, yeah, kind of like having one Madden game that just gets roster updates and engine optimizations, and you don't have to buy one every year. Just add
Yeah.
the Pokemon.
I'm a
No,
beast,
you have to pay
guys.
$60
I'm in a
a
bad
year.
relationship.
I think, well, with capitalism, we all are, aren't we? They created
wanna
Lord of the
know,
Rings, and I watched it.
yeah.
If that's not abuse, I
Right.
don't know what is.
Yeah.
I've seen your collection, and I've seen X-Kita's collection, and I want to know who has the more extensive
I
collection
think
now.
X truly has every Pokemon.
Mhm.
I
He has a
think
lot of
he has-
shinies. That's what he's very
he-
proud of, his shiny collection.
I have recently started becoming a shiny hunter, and it is
Mhm.
hard, and I am proud of every single one of those. I would say I have a seventh of the number that he has, right?
Sure.
And I've got maybe 50 now at this point. Now, and I'm sure he's racing to get these new ones done. I have, whatever the left version is. My brother got the right version. We can trade the things. So, of course, there are differences to the ones. I will get this complete. And I have like tags in my mind of how I'm going to get those last 5 that I've been missing too.
Mm-hmm.
But the joy and excitement I felt for this for a long time, I would say 2 years of casual work. And then this last year of being like, yo, no, shut up. I love Pokemon. Pokemon's great. It is my thing. I'm going to have these little fuckers and I'm going to be so proud of every one of them. That has disappeared now. And truly
Wow.
just this week because of this new game. Like the whole wind is just gone.
Just
Guys.
disenfranchised
That's a
now. I'm
bummer.
sorry to
It's
hear that, man.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Those
I have
freaks.
seen
Won't you
some.
say-
I've seen some funny bugs though in this game. Apparently, you can climb up some unclimbable areas if you like go backwards and like jump backwards. And then I've also seen that if you have another remote, like if you have one remote and then another remote,
The
you can
super run. Yes.
you can run faster just because it just adds speed if you just run with both of them.
Yeah,
is
and then
bad
you're
code.
like, why is that? Yeah, exactly. But Mike, you're like, these little things, you're just like, so somebody like didn't figure that out. And then when you look like at the actual base textures, you guys remember playing Pokemon Stadium for the N64,
Or
right?
Snap.
Or Snap, where it's a lot of very sharp polygons and harsh corners. Guys, we still have those. There are not smooth textures in this game.
Some of them look like Mario 64. Like you can see the pattern of the dirt pattern. Like it's not even like blended well.
And why?
That's crazy.
Why
And
is that?
There's no excuse. We've
There's
had Breath of the
no
Wild.
excuse.
It's weird though. There's that new Sonic game came out that got
That's an
that was
open
mixed
world.
reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
More
I don't
so
know,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
But Switch can handle more than certainly what this game is.
If you could play Doom Eternal or Dark Souls or Breath of the Wild, this should be able to run. And if back jump speed, it's a Super Mario speedrun trick, right? Because they forgot to put a limit on how fast you can go backwards. But that's
great
something
for
you can make
speedrunning,
that
though.
mistake in 1995, but you shouldn't be making that mistake in 2022. Is the problem, right?
Yeah.
So the only good thing
I'm
to
sure
come
a lot
out
of
of this
that'll
is the
be
speed
patched.
running. Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
patched.
You
but-
say that. How long? How
Yeah.
long and what will they catch? I don't know.
Right.
And then if they patch it, you can't do those techniques anymore. So it's short-lived. So
Yeah.
for the memes, you get these meme speed runs. But pretty much, yeah, the game seems broken, and it sucks that
Yes.
the
So you
customer
can get
suffers.
to areas you weren't meant to get to just by jumping backwards up a mountain.
Yeah.
You can do it by throwing Pokeballs because, since Arceus, you do have these new features where these little fuckers are interacting and kind of in the world. You can
Right.
throw one of your guys over a river and then it just teleports you over there. And you're just in a spot of the
Oh.
game where it's like, you're out of
falling
bounds through the world. Yeah, it's
Sure.
it's so bad.
I like that when the game, outside of doing those tricks intentionally, is stable. It shouldn't be happening to you on accident.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be having T-pose models or contortionists
Oh,
and
yeah.
all this crazy nightmare fuel that's happening too. So
Everybody looks like they're in stop motion because, of course, the loading around you is so stuttered. The frame rate, it drops to 10 frames.
I mean, X
It drops
kind
to
of told me
10.
I was talking to him today. He's like, when I go into the menu to look at my Pokemon, I have to wait multiple seconds for it to even populate the menu. If the menu
Wow.
is not even optimized, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Yeah, I'm sorry that they did it to you, Colin.
Do you
Yeah,
still
I
have, like,
didn't want to do an
can
episode.
you ride around on a little bicycle
Yeah.
in the world?
The gimmicks change every time, and this one, of course, has a gimmick where every little Pokemon you catch gets to put a fancy little hat on, which is very cute. But the overworld gimmick is no bike, no flying, no surf. You get the legendary Pokemon to start. They're a motorcycle, so you just run around on them.
Oh,
The
you can
legendary
ride on them.
Pokemon.
A
Interesting.
legendary motorcycle.
Nice.
Yeah, I just
Jackie's Arch.
we're just the content of the ones I saw one today. You would love one, Jacob. He's just Minecraft. He's just blocks, and you're just like you see the idea of these developers being like, they do love Minecraft.
Well, they got to be running out of
yeah.
ideas after like
Oh.
how many different kinds of Pokemon can you actually invent before you run out of ideas?
Did you
Yeah.
guys know there's one that's a keychain with just keys on it?
Yeah, Klefki. Yeah.
Klefki
I was
mice.
about to make a joke. Yeah, they literally just made one out of keys. There's also an ice cream cone, so
I was gonna bring up the ice cream cone next, of course. The two staple Pokemon I would say where people just go,
these aren't animals anymore.
yeah, I
No.
don't know.
Ah, Lightermon. This is my Lightermon.
Yeah, now it's like, what's your favorite concept? It's
Yeah,
well, I
yeah.
don't know. What do you mean?
There will be one that's a motorcycle eventually.
Yes.
A
So
talking motorcycle.
I done with that. Are you guys
Yeah.
playing anything that works, or whatcha of any other kind? I guess I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, before we
Not really. You know, I've just been playing a little Cyberpunk, mixing it in with some other games.
Are you gonna beat it, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm gonna beat it eventually. I just want to do all the side content before I go into that last mission. Even though I know I can come back into the overworld and
Mhm.
do that stuff, I at least want to do. You know, I got to finish all the character like side mission arcs, like
Yep.
You know,
Get the
Pan
tarot
Am's arc
cards.
and everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, I got all the tarot cards, and I am buying the cars slowly now because if you play this game like I play it, where I'm just hoarding everything, you get so much money that it's like, man, I think I can actually buy every car in this game if you do all the scanner hustles, do all the gigs, you're gonna have so much excess money that
Mhm.
might as well just buy every single car just to get that achievement on Steam or whatever.
Yeah, because the cycle of consumption never ends, And
Right.
We're all part of it,
I'm gonna 100% that game. And then I've just been playing this game called Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord a little bit. That's
Oh,
a game that was in early access for a while that I played a little bit, but it fully released finally, I think a couple weeks ago. So I've been getting back into that. They fleshed out the campaign a little bit, and that's been really fun.
Hot on Reddit, Jacob. I see
Oh,
a lot
yeah?
of posts that I saw a GIF the other day of a kid saying, "I'm playing as my heir, a little boy whose parents were killed, and it's the little boy on the battlefield running around, picking things up, trying to throw spears, like dodging
Sure.
people, a whole army chasing after him on horseback."
Dude.
That's great. And I was a huge fan of the first game in the series, Mountain Blade Warband. It's a little bit of an older game, but holds up. And the modding community around that was kind of what kept that game alive. And I think the modding is going to add a lot to Bannerlord, where you can have total conversion mods where it's like the Game of Thrones world. So it's just the gameplay
Sure.
in Game
Oh,
of Thrones.
cool.
Lord of the Rings, you can have Lord of the Rings, you can have Star Wars, you can have the French Revolutionary War with like muskets and stuff. So there's like a
Huh.
million different mods that people have made, and so that's going to keep that game alive a lot longer than the base game would.
And
That's
how did they release it? Is it an open beta? What do they call the initial launch of this?
Well, it was just in early access for like 2
Early
years.
access, right?
Yeah.
And then they're fleshing it
But
out.
you play it on Steam.
I play it on Steam, yeah, and I bought it when it was in early access, and it was unfinished. Like there's a lot of they added cutscenes, like voiced cutscenes to the final game. They added they fleshed out the campaign to makes you to give you something to do in the open world, kind of. Yeah.
Once again, they're telling you it's unfinished. You know that
Correct.
the game you're buying is unfinished.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing is, if you want to do that, you can
You are
call it early
support-
access, and people
Yes.
understand that it's early access and it's not finished. If you're releasing on release day as a finished game, then yes, you should be a finished game, right?
Yeah, it's like I got a movie and I put it out. We didn't watch it. Black Panther kind of forever. We didn't see it, but I'm gonna get around to it. But let's say that movie comes out and the special effects are just clearly not finished. There's green screen everywhere. Lines haven't been dubbed in. There's no ADR. And they're just like,
Right.
yeah, this is it. And then maybe 2 years down the road, there's a finish. You can't get away with that in any other industry. I don't
No.
fucking care.
We
No,
heard
and I
your
think early
complaints.
access is a great model for like independent studios and stuff to raise money while you're to release the game, so you're raising money to finish the game.
It's a Kickstarter.
And you're
That
getting
makes sense.
feedback from the
Yeah.
community to fix
But they
your
know,
game.
but people that buy that know going into it that it's an unfinished game and are willing to, deal with that. Cyberpunk, obviously, yeah. I mean, now it's fixed, but terrible release.
Right, and
obviously.
Now
Pokemon
it's
to prey upon
fixed.
holiday purchase parents who know their kids
Yes.
like Pokemon and they don't know the difference and they're not hearing that it's all buggy or whatever. They're gonna buy it, and that's why they didn't care, and it sucks
Yeah.
because the kids end up
Shameless
with a shittier
capitalism.
experience. I didn't mention this on the Cyberpunk episode proper, and I meant to, because Akira, Ghost in the Shell, kind of that Japanese cyberpunk thing. There's a phrase in Japanese culture called shogunai, which means basically, what can you do? And it's a way to like deal with shit that sucks in society. So like,
Sure.
oh man, yeah, these fucking
I say that all the
politicians,
time.
yeah, you shogunai, what can you do?
Shogunai.
That's kind of where we're at as a society. At least that's how I feel. It's like, yeah,
God
video
damn.
games are going to be released broken, and it's going to continue to do that because someone's going to pay for it, and they don't get reprimanded because even if 1 million of us vote with our wallets not to, 10 million are going to vote yes. At which point, shogunai. We're
Yeah.
fucked.
Shogunai.
So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
Here I have an
Keep buying
update
those
though.
products.
Yeah, speaking of products, PC side, I am beginning the process slowly of purchasing components to upgrade my computer. They
Nice.
just announced really, really new stuff, so I'm going to buy the
New
best stuff
graphics
from
card.
the previous generation at
Yo.
a discount.
Oh,
Yeah, they just
the
switched to a new platform.
Super 380,
The 4090s now.
56s or whatever they were.
Yeah.
You're starting to see that stuff online because of the chip fall and all that stuff. That stuff is accessible now, but there is a new product coming out. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
there's a
That's
new
cool.
product. There's new platforms, so the new CPUs won't run on old motherboards, which means you can buy last generation's motherboards where everything is updated and compatible because they're out of beta, let's say. So you can just buy anything top of the line that's stable for like half the price, or you can get the new shit and it's all buggy and needs driver updates, and you just suffer through that because of the fancy marketing.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it the other way. I'm buying what's known stable, and
that's the way to go.
Hell yeah.
It's the
Mike out
perfect
here
time to
making
do it.
DVDs, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
with,
great.
uh,
Seriously.
Cryptocurrency prices falling, that means video cards are more affordable now, which is a good thing.
Mining
So,
equipment.
Mining. Yeah, so this is a perfect time if you want to do it because they're literally switching platforms to a new CPU socket. So nerd speak, that means everybody who wants to try the newest hotness has to upgrade all their shit, which means last gen shit that's still very, 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 very good. It's going to go down in price come December 13th when they drop all this new stuff. So keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I
smart.
might have to look into that as well. My computer that I first built in 2015, it's kind of like it's the ship of Theseus, where I've replaced so many parts that it's like, because I had to replace the motherboard because I got a new graphics card and a new
Mhm.
CPU, and then it's like, oh, I need to replace the motherboard so it's compatible. And so if you keep upgrading the same PC, at what point is it not the same PC anymore?
Transcomputerism, right? And at what point is it a
Right.
PC at all? Or is it a player character? Then is it a human? Wow.
Yeah.
I don't
Creating an
like.
AI
I don't
over
like
here.
where we're going.
We're
Guys.
going in circles. I think we're about to
I'm
go to our
nervous.
wrap up
Yeah.
for this Whatcha. Thanks for hanging out with us. But yeah, look into PC parts, cyber boys and girls, and then at least you can get things at open access that are being honest with you.
And Black
catch you on the
Friday,
other side.
Cyber Monday, good time to do it.
Cyber. Catch you on the other side, consumers.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where we're eating dessert. It is pumpkin pie time as we
Oh,
hit our
full.
final course here.
I'm stuffed over here.
Sorry, I got a little sick.
Yep.
Mike fell asleep watching football on the couch.
Yep. I actually did that today too.
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, we're here. We're doing final thoughts. We've kind of broken down the dystopia that is society. Get ready to go shopping for the next 2 months, everybody.
That's right.
I think importantly, despite this conversation, we're kind of tongue-in-cheek here. Definitely call the people you care about in your life. This is the time for that. If you can't go see them, give them a call. You never know.
Please do.
Reach out, spend time with your loved ones. That's important. And we love when you spend time with us. So thanks for hanging out and letting us be a
Hell
part of this
yes.
holiday week for you. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly, but
Turkey
Yeah.
time, guys. How are you going to be spending your little bit of time off? Is there a game you're excited to sort of like, Jacob, are you going to really sit down, beat Cyberpunk? Are you going to have anything streaming while you're going, podcasts? What are you going to be enjoying during this little turkey time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to getting some downtime, some time off work to just relax. And yeah, I'll probably be cyberpunking it. Might try to finally finish the game this weekend and everything. And, I'm looking forward to watching some football, watching some new series. I kind of need a new series now that Hot D's ended. I guess I
the
can finish Ring of
Peripheral on
Power,
Amazon.
The Peripheral. I've been
We're
watching
going to do an
Andor.
episode about a little sci-fi show that you guys are enjoying. I know that's coming to an end, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
sir. Yeah, I think this is the last episode this week. So that's ending. Hot D ended, Ring of Power. So a lot of stuff ending as we go into the winter season. But I'm excited,
The final, can I say, is the final shot really somebody saying, so Cassian, where'd you get that name? And he says, it's just me. And he says, it's just you, or is it that guy over there too? And he says, no, it's
Yeah.
Cassian Andor. Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Yeah.
It was Michael who when.
That's right.
Yeah.
You guys remember
Um,
Han Solo had that scene in that movie? That's what
Uh-huh,
That's true.
100%.
That is
You don't
true.
have a last.
I'm just saying.
That's like a
But yeah,
slang
Andor.
term, too.
We didn't talk about it yet, but stay tuned, Normies, because that might
It's
be
coming.
coming up. And some of us have been watching that and enjoying it, I think.
Yeah. I think that's been one of the highlights during this lull. I've been into
Some
it,
of
so
us
we're gonna be.
still need to watch it.
Maybe that's what I'll be enjoying. Mike, what will you be kind of consuming while you're consuming?
Yeah, so I need to. Nice, I like that. Well, I finished this prop. I'm very proud of it. So I need to figure out what to 3D print next. I have glow in the dark filament, and some other stuff. I don't know. We're gonna get crazy.
What sci-fi thing is left too?
The Predator.
Cyberpunky thing that you could be.
Oh.
Oh, that would be cool.
But
The
the
peripheral.
glow in the dark thing,
Oh.
I could print a Predator or just print a peripheral. Yeah. So
Print a
You can always
fucking
print a
Predator
peripheral for your
skull,
computer.
dude. That would be
yeah, and have it glow.
Fucking
But no,
peripheral.
and I'll just print a peripheral to be a USB I/O. No, what we do have the model for Johnny Silverhand's gun, so we might do that. But I need to
The
say that
handgun.
yes, there has been an update to the Cyberpunk game, and no longer can you jump off a 32-story building and shoot the ground with the shotgun and live.
Oh, your
So
favorite.
the game is now a 0 out of 10. Because that was 95% of my play style, so I'm a little
Wow,
bummed
Mike
out.
doesn't like the anime either anymore.
No, I completely out. I'm throwing this thing in the trash. Like, I'm over it. Yeah, fuck reading. William Gibson sucks. So does Blade Runner. But I think
You
fans
should
are going to
print
patch
a,
that back in. A petition.
You should print a petition, or you should print a katana.
Oh yeah, maybe we could do that too.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
There's
Ooh,
conveyor
police.
belt printers that they can go. They'll print the whole thing in one go because the conveyor belt will move the print as it's printed.
What?
Oh, that's
Cool,
what you
huh?
need next.
But I might play some Cyber. I've been playing the Resident Evil 8 expansion. It's not very good, but I've been speed running it. It's fine. The gameplay's kind of boring, but you can try to beat it in under 50 minutes. So there's some speed run tricks I'm learning just for fun.
Do you like the new point of view?
Not in the base game, but it's fine for the DLC. And I'm excited for Resident Evil 4 remake, which is they're just testing the stability of the engine. And let me say something nerdy again. Pokemon doesn't run on the Switch, but whatever the Resident Evil engine is, even on my old-ish computer, like it runs incredible. Like I'm getting 60 or 120 depending on how I play at 2K. And it's like a new game, but I can't even run like Star Wars Squadrons at 2K. You know what I mean? But Resident
10,
Evil,
Mike's getting 120. Jesus
They're-
Christ.
their engine is, I don't know what it is. It's super adaptable to systems. It's really nice. So shout out RE Engine. I think all those games run really well on no matter what level system you have. So just when you have stable code, the point is it makes a difference. All right, Game Freak, like you can do it. Just fucking do it. that's pretty much it. I'll finish Count Zero and probably watch the original Blade Runner, that kind of stuff, and football.
And
But Colin, how
The
about
Peripheral.
Hell yeah,
And
and the peripheral.
On Amazon Prime.
They was on Prime.
Westworld came to an end. We didn't even say that. Westworld died so the peripheral could live.
Oh wow,
That's right.
Westworld died so Game of Thrones could absorb the budget.
The Walking Dead.
I'm
is
not
over.
wrong.
The Walking Dead died
Can you
too.
believe
Boy,
that? Final
guys.
episode.
And we did our first episode 12 years ago on this podcast. That's
Sounds
when
about
the
right.
show first
Sheesh.
started. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I said, Wednesday, I love the Addams Family. I think Jenna Ortega is an amazing actress. I'm super excited for this series. I think it'll be pretty bad. It kind of looks like they're just doing a Stranger Things pastiche, or like Netflix has just kind of realized like this thing plus mystery equals this thing. And you're like,
It's like a
"Ugh,
Lock
put that
and
away."
Key, Umbrella Academy, gothy thing, right?
Like, Mike, did you watch the final season of Lock and Key?
No, I only watched the first season, but was it worth it?
I only did up to the second. Maybe I'll do the third. Maybe I'll finish that. There's a couple things. I recently started the Orville on Jacob's recommendation to get into that new one.
Yeah.
Haven't loved it.
Ooh.
Might jump to Andor. So might use my break to do that. I don't think I'm going to be playing a lot of Pokemon, although you'll see me right after this record jumping on because I do still have the hunger. But again, it'll be for the 10 minutes. I've spoiled myself a little story-wise on it, but I think I'm going to grab God of War Ragnarok and just run through that thing over break. Now, Mike, did you ever play 2018?
I haven't played Dad of Boy, as we call it affectionately here.
Boy.
But I did have my PS5. I haven't played it much, but my friend was like, "Yo, dog, can I borrow that? I really want to play Ragnarok." So he got me the Platinum Trophy, and he's played it, and he loved it. He played it on the hardest difficulty. So I will be getting the PlayStation back this weekend, and maybe I will run through that 15-hour cinematic experience. Yeah,
And
with Dad
Mike,
of Boy, too.
I played 2018. I beat it 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Like you just said, it's mainly a movie. You run through this thing 10 hours, two days. Literally, you're just sitting down on a weekend. You get through this thing in 2 afternoons. I'm not a guy who plays video games with, music on or whatever where you can hear the thing. I had it cranked all the way up. The performances, I like the stories. Loved everything about that first game. The stuff that I've seen about this new one. I love these games. I love these games. So God of War. I'm very
That's the big talk, is what's going to win Game of the Year, Elden Ring or God of War. Obviously, one an open world kind of hardcore.
But
the roller coaster
God of War may
experience.
be,
Yeah,
it's got to
that's
be
the
Elden
argument.
Ring.
I agree with that. I think Elden Ring's probably a better game. That's
From
life-changing.
a
That's
game
a good
mechanic.
open world game. Again. But you see people vote that are like, best narrative. It's got to be Elden Ring. Jacob, tell me the story of Elden Ring. What is the plot of that game?
Dark Souls narratives are great because they're all in the item descriptions.
You see,
You
when
have to read
America
all the
was
items.
Radigan,
I don't think you're allowed to win best narrative, Mike, if your game is only descriptions of a ring in your inventory.
No, but the most complete explanation of the story does come from a turtle that wears a Pope hat, so that's got to be worth something.
Yeah. Here's the
You
thing,
know?
God of War, I've never played the 2018.
Yes,
I never.
Ronaldo.
But what is different about this one compared to the 2018? It's just a sequel, essentially, with the same gameplay, just a new story.
And a lot of people were like, why isn't this DLC? The map is, I believe, 3 times as large. Maybe you go to more, realms because it's
Still, that might
Valhalla.
be good, but I
Yes.
can't compare that to open world Dark Souls, which changed, the way open world games
Gameplay,
can be
mechanics,
created,
yeah.
basically.
I would
But-
again say the maturity levels of that first 2018 game, the plot being, hey,
Boy.
kids at home, you have a PlayStation? Here's the plot of your video game. Grieve your dead wife. You're like, like the narrative is I grieve, and it's like, yes, good luck. That's astounding. That should win best narrative. Again, I don't really know what this new one is. Going off of the sweetness, the complexity of that storytelling that Corey Balrog has sort of put forth, I just have no doubt that it's going to be a very touching, wonderful tale. And that's why I would hope it would get Game of the Year. But again, I loved Elden Ring. So if that wins, fucking
Here's
great.
the thing. Here's the
Two
thing.
sides,
God
yeah,
of
go
War. First of all, they took out the sex mini game from the earlier games. So
I was playing.
no
I
game
have a
will
modded
be here for
PSP
you.
where I can play all the old ones.
Yeah.
Fucking, I threw one on the other day. Jacob, you start in one area, you walk to the left, it refreshes, sex minigame starts. I was like, it's the first thing you do.
Hell yeah.
It's like the opening of The
that's
Witcher
when games
3.
were good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
funny.
they were finished, and you could
Yeah,
have
but-
sex.
That's right. But second of all, I'm rooting
Yes.
for Dark Horse Stray to win Game of the Year. That
Oh, it's
cat
not
game.
happening.
that would
They'll
be
win Best
cute,
Indie.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to throw my 2 cents on the God of War Elden Ring. The thing, it's one is, this is not a qualifier, but one is for gamers in quotes. One is for the average normie, basically. So it's like
Yeah.
if you just
One
want
of
to
them
watch,
you can literally play a version where you just watch the movie. Yeah.
basically,
I
yeah.
kind of
but
look at
the
it
visuals
as-
are incredible. You're watching it. Yeah, I get it. It's an interactive
Yeah.
story at that point. Yeah,
I'm sure it's a good game, but I think for Game of the Year, I just kind of look at it as like what game kind of changed the gaming landscape the most in the
Yes.
past year. And I would say that would
Pushed
have to be Elden Ring.
boundaries. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. Advanced kind of mechanics, and guess what wasn't buggy as fuck and is gigantic. Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's true.
How
saying.
is it not?
It's been
I
done.
don't understand that.
How was
do
it
you
not a
drop the
disaster?
ball? Yes.
Everyone
Ah,
thought Elden Ring
An
was going to
open
be a
world
buggy
that
mess.
size.
Do you
Yeah.
remember, Mike? Nobody knew a word. They haven't talked about it. They won't talk about it. George R. R. Martin's on this thing. They won't talk about it.
Mhm.
Well, we'll drop the sort of alpha here for a second. Oh, it's amazing. People love it. Well, it comes out next week. It's done. And you're like, it is?
What? Yeah, no problem. So
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
It can be done, game developers. So anyway,
And that has a
I
ton
don't
of
know.
complex story branching lines and stuff. Yeah, like there should be a million bugs in that game.
and I
but there's
can't
not.
see like every pore in their nose, but like there's some stunning vistas in that game. Some of the
Yeah.
skyboxes, like every time
Oh,
you turn
yeah.
a corner, it's absolutely gorgeous. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
it's a hard balance between what's the best graphics. Technically, Kratos might have more pixels, but there's some very
could say,
evocative images in Elden Ring.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, another game that's like
Mhm.
super good looking graphically, but maybe not
And also
have
up
the
for Game
same
of the Year.
impact.
Yep.
Yeah, but doesn't have the same impact on the landscape that Elden Ring might have.
No.
No.
That's one of those where they like our kind of beloved Assassin's Creeds, Jacob, where when they make it good, they're like, this is a good version of this type of game. And you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
But again, it's not groundbreaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Elden Ring is the culmination of everything From Software has ever done. Where God of War is like, it's just a really good version of that thing you did. Like it's not like a magnum opus. It's just like
Right.
another hallway story game where you have
Did,
one path.
Did Magic Rain, speaking of Walking Dead, did that win Game of the Year? What was
Magic
that called?
Rain.
Magic Rain. I'm walking with a baby. Walking Dead. Magic Rain.
That's yeah. Death
that called?
Stranding, the first ever
Death
Strand
Stranding.
type game.
Oh,
Did
Yes.
that win Game of the Year?
No,
I don't
no
think so.
way.
I don't. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was more divisive because some people really
Yeah.
liked it. Some people are like, this shit's boring.
Yeah, it's just interesting that Miyazaki can sort of go like, I'm changing what I think games are. Meanwhile, when Kojima kind of does it, sometimes the reaction is people going like, you don't know what you're doing, old man.
Well,
Yeah.
or it's like it's just too weird to wrap your head around.
it's,
You know what I
you
mean?
went too
Well, like-
far. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought MGS5 was like a masterpiece in certain ways, not from a story perspective, but it's an open world Metal Gear Solid game that just does a lot of things right. But obviously had a big kind of falling out with Konami. So yeah,
Now they just make pachinko machines. So
yeah,
anyway,
capitalism.
that's right. So that's the theme of Thanksgiving. Be thankful for what you have, and then immediately go out and buy more. Okay.
It's the kind of
Please,
it's
consume.
there's Black Friday will be happening, Cyber Monday during when you're listening to this. Maybe we talked a lot about capitalism this episode, so I guess this was our good Thanksgiving episode. So good work, guys.
Well, it is true because this you get you get Mariah the day after Halloween. Like we're not even talking about Thanksgiving. It's already consumed. So we're supposed to be giving thanks. So let's all try to
November
focus on that.
16th, a woman at the Panda Express sent Merry Christmas to me. November
Too
16th.
soon.
It should
Too
be
soon.
banned until at least Black Friday. At least.
Yeah, I say December 1st.
Yes.
That's fine too. But
That's when I
after
start.
Thanksgiving at minimum.
The winter
Yeah.
month. War on Christmas. War on Christmas.
War on
Someone said
Thanksgiving.
Merry Christmas to me Halloween night. It's like, how dare you?
No. No, it's happy
We're on
Honda
Halloween.
days.
Yes. Happy
Yeah,
Honda
yeah.
days to us all. As always,
Yeah.
check us out at normies_like_us, where you can find other episodes. We're not just doing these watches where we talk about the stuff we watch. We, of course, do our usual pop culture breakdown on a topic. Check out those eps. Leave some comments. Watch the YouTube. give your thoughts. We want to know what you're doing for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Thanksgiving. If you're not on a holiday, what are you looking to consume during, like Mike said, these short winter days? Let us know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate checking it out. And peep the YouTubes if you want to see our beautiful faces and cool props.
If you want to see Mike's gun, check out that YouTube,
It's
please.
there.
If
And
you are the FBI, check out that YouTube.
it is a prop.
It is. You did say you were going to use it against the ambassador of Japan, though.
Oh, no.
But we'll leave it there. We've been your hosts. This is Gravy, Colin.
And then Mike's potatoes. Guess we're rolling together.
And this is Turkey Jacob. Gobble gobble.
Jerky.
Gobbledygooker. All right.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.